Do you want to do the intro?
No.
Should we do the intro at the same time? Like, should we both say it?
Sure.
Because this is like a kind of a special episode.
Yeah.
So I'll do 3, 2, 1, and we'll both go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Good Boys. No, it's just me, Ryan. You gotta do it. Oh. Hello and welcome to Good Boys Gone Bland. Summer break.
Woo!
Signs. I'm your co-host Denali.
I'm your co-host, Ryan. I was doing like a radio jockey there.
Co-host Ryan.
Yeah.
Coming at you live.
89.6.
GBGB. Yeah. Welcome, folks. We're back. It's just me and Ryan this episode. Hence the immediate weird energy we brought without Jace. We're falling apart already. Jace is busy this weekend. He's on a Frisbee tournament.
He's getting busy this weekend.
Yeah. And, he's being a jock. He's playing sports. He's having friends. But me and Ryan are inside watching movies, all right, with you guys. And we reviewed a movie that's been kind of on our list for a while. Ryan, you've watched this movie quite a bit recently. I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
Which is wild. I don't think that's
yeah.
true because me and you watched it together. But go.
Did we watch it together? Was it okay? Yeah, it was probably at least 10 years ago. But it's no secret that I've been wanting a M. Night Shyamalan season for a while. I've pitched it a few times. I want the Twist Master to be a part of our season. But in celebration of the GBGB summer break, we're kind of doing grab bags. We might do another grab bag with Jace next week. But Ryan, we finally did it. We were watching an alien movie. How does that make you feel as our resident alien expert?
It makes me feel very good. Sometimes I feel like I can kind of manifest things in you guys.
Yeah.
By kind of maybe throwing an idea out there, or when you present an idea, maybe me acting a little excited,
okay,
but not like overly excited about it.
So you think you kind of like inceptioned this suggestion?
Kind of, because when you listed, the couple movies, I'm like, oh, we're watching Signs. I'm not watching a different movie on this list.
Okay.
And I kind of talk about the other movies. Yeah. Give some good things and bad things about the other movies.
You could have just told me you want to see Signs, dog. I want to see Signs.
No, I know you guys
play this cat and mouse game.
The way it is, we're like, oh, this person really likes this thing.
Yeah.
I think that thing's stupid now.
Well, I know you like alien stuff, Ryan. You're a big aliens guy.
Big aliens guy. I'm all on. I'm part of the. I think I would probably call myself part of the UFO community.
Yeah, and this is huge. Like, I'm so glad that we're doing this here because, like, I feel like I'm a skeptic of UFO society, but my mind is open, and you're kind of coming from an expert position, so maybe we can have some good discussions on here.
I am. I mean, I would qualify myself as a skeptic as well. You can be part of the community.
Okay, no, we're not gonna. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, all right. So let's squash this right now.
Right.
Aliens, real or not?
Definitely real.
Okay, for sure. Okay, so UFOs, real or not?
Definitely real.
I don't think there's any
UFO.
I don't know. I think they're all identified.
Those are very real.
I think they're all identified. I think it's a hoax that they're all unidentified. I think we know what all of them are.
I saw this bird the other day. I didn't recognize it.
Oh, you knew it was a bird. Okay.
Didn't know.
It
could have been an alien bird.
When someone posts a video, or like a government posts a video online of like some lights.
Yeah, when the government posts a video online, like they do, yeah.
They're like, hey, look at this. No one knows what this is. I think they know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
No way. They don't.
It's like a Zeppelin or something. Okay, well.
Yeah, that would be fucking weird.
That is true, because I live in a place with a lot of blimps in LA.
You do not live in a place with a lot of blimps.
Yeah. Okay, so there's 26 blimps in the world.
There's 4 blimps like on the planet.
Yeah. 95% of them are in LA. Like LA is like the blimp capital of the world, and I see them all the time.
Daytona. There might be one in LA. There's like one in Germany.
No.
And there's one in like Ohio.
Okay, I'm looking it up. Okay, there's 25 blimps.
Yeah, but only like 5 of them are in service.
There's 60 in the world. This is 2. How am I looking this up? Okay, this is.
I win already.
Are there in Los Angeles? Okay, there are. Oh no, this is like a list of them throughout history, though.
I think you just. Hey, how about this? Hey, Denali, how about this? We just have a conversation.
No. I need to look up how many blimps there are.
Something in the sky.
Okay.
That you can't 100% positively identify.
Okay.
And you're telling me it looks like a blimp, and when you're receiving like, information that it might not be a blimp, you're kind of maybe being like biased against that information.
You're saying you're saying I saw something that I can't identify.
Right.
And therefore it's a real it's a real thing. Is this what you guys do to people? Is this like some kind of sick game you play with people?
Yeah,
where
it
ask
actually
them, you ever
it's
seen?
mostly pretty being like a technical asshole about like jargon. Yeah.
Wait, so do you go?
I have
You're
I have a pretty good response rate on my
Yeah, okay.
emails to podcasts complaining about their use of different alien terms.
Are you like you ever see you ever see a bird in the sky that you didn't know what it was? Fucking idiot.
Vox has a profile on me, and they're like,
Yeah.
they only will let certain people respond to me now.
Well, okay. So, I mean, what's the closest thing we watched to an alien? Like Interstellar, probably? That's
Yeah, Interstellar's pretty up there. I was thinking about this the other day. We've seen quite a few of my like favorite movies on the podcast.
Critters.
Oh, Critters is a good UFOs
alien
one.
movie. Okay, yeah.
I was surprised that we never found a way to shoehorn in like The Thing or Alien.
Those are movies that I want to see, and I feel like Jace would be down too. We never did it. There's a whole list of movies that we want to see so bad, and then we'll watch like Air Bud 5.
Yeah.
And the three of us don't want to watch it. We also roped in a fourth guy to watch it with us. But yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for this too, because Ryan, I was actually a kind of a big UFO enthusiast in like middle school. Kind of in the early internet days. I mean, and I kind of like, well, I don't say grow out of it. I think I just became like more discerning of information. Like, I think I was just better at kind of like reading, and I just kind of read more and was kind of like aware of my surroundings a little more. But I don't want to make it sound like I was too young, because I think it was really I was not as smart as I am now. But no, I was really into it because I would watch these videos, and I remember me and my dad were really into this 2-hour alien video, and it was like, this was early internet when like nothing was ever verified, and it was like this documentary, and they had like footage of like gray alien, like, it's like quote unquote footage of gray aliens just like walking around on a farm, and like alien dissection, and we were like, holy fuck. Yeah. Like, this was kind of the coast to coast years, like where we would listen to those talk shows, and tons of people really into this shit.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, why isn't the president talking about this? Like, I was like really into this shit. So I mean, I am very sympathetic, Ryan, to the UFO community.
The discourse now is a little different.
Okay.
The discourse now, I would say the popular discourse, there are still those kind of I would say people who are easily fooled, sort of UFO corners of it, but the corners of the UFO community. But at the same time, the community has become a lot more internet savvy and like internet literate and media literate too. So when a proposed new video pops up, the comment section is going to have like two guys who are like, oh my God, this is the most great footage ever. And it's like, it's like pitch black, and it's like one pixel that's moving around.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, and then there's like 10 people who are like, this is like a spider web, who that's like out of focus. And now the issue too is with a lot of stuff with like Starlink. There's a lot of reports about like Starlink being UFO. So you have like, it has changed a lot. Those are what I refer to as ground up observers.
Okay. Like grassroots, like...
No,
people.
I think this is a literal description of what's happening.
Oh,
they're on the ground and they're looking up.
And okay, yeah, okay, got you.
So ground up observers are pretty much like worthless.
Really?
There's only like one ground up observation story that I like, and that's the Phoenix Lights. However, that was for a long time, that was the only discourse about UFOs, was like ground up stuff.
So okay, wait, you have ground up, but like, is there like a air to air?
Yes, that's like the other category.
Okay.
And that's mostly like military and like aviation and pilots.
Okay.
So nowadays, the majority of like credible sighting reports and stuff are coming from pilots and military people who are maybe pilot adjacent. So
I love
fighter jet pilots saying that they are seeing stuff, even recordings that have been released, or in some cases recordings from like aircraft carriers and stuff. That is in my view, those are the only real credible reports right now.
I love those audio clips too, because it'll be like the most calm professional man on the thing, and he'll be like, we have a goo ball that is about 3 inches by 3 inch. It is floating on the outside, and it is inside my cockpit. The goo ball has turned into the Statue of Liberty and is now speaking to me.
No, exactly. I think that stuff is super fascinating, and the only reason I really trust those is sometimes it's like because they're an authority figure too, but also just because like there's typically not only one person. And if there is only one person, there's at least some sort of like electronic, instrument that it's, interacting with. And unfortunately, most of that stuff is just not released. But the little things that are released or the things that are leaked are super interesting.
I mean, and it's also like a lot of those guys too are like, oh, it could have been like a weird.
Yeah.
Like they're never like, it's a fucking alien.
Right.
Like,
and when they describe it, they describe it very like, they say, this happened, and then this happened. It looked like this, and then it did this, and then this happened, and then I went to this, and I told this person. And rather than the conspiracy theorists, like ground up observers who are like, my grandma ate this weird herb, and then she was told that her grandchildren would be able to see the mystery men.
I love those stories, though. Like, one, I'm glad that there's an internet community to parse through information that's very valuable. But I also miss, like, hearing Farmer John. Like, we grew up in Alaska, where you would just ride bikes and just meet weird old dudes at, like, junkyards. And they'd be like, oh, I've seen an alien. And you'll just start bringing stuff out. And I think that is a valuable piece of culture that's lost now, because everyone makes fun of them.
Yeah, but also from the perspective of people who want to get to the actual, like, truth about what's going on, they can be a harmful distraction if those observers become so prominent that, like, every observer is treated like that. Because then the people who aren't necessarily crazy, who just say, hey, I saw something that I can't really check out, if they say, oh, therefore that person must be crazy, therefore, like, we should fire them. They should lose their position, or it should be a demerit on their service record. Because then really what that does is that stigmatizes the reporting process and makes it less likely that other people are going to come forward in the future.
Yeah, you see some weird shit, maybe you don't want to say anything.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And now there's a couple unofficial, like, anonymous ways that commercial pilots can report.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple actual official ways that, like, military pilots can report too, which is actually, like, I think really great.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. If I was a commercial pilot, I would submit probably 800 a year. Just the most buck wild stories I could possibly think of.
Gremlins let's be real. Yeah. Gremlins get brought up.
If that was instituted, there'll be a 10,000% increase in gremlins reporting.
Well, they're real. Gremlins are a real phenomenon.
Aren't they a phenomenon where, in terms of, like, just things will just go wrong? Isn't that what they say it is?
Yes, there's that. Yes, definitely. Like electrical problems in military vehicles, but also pilots sitting in one spot looking at the same thing in the dark for 12 hours at a time. And they've been awake for 3 days.
Yeah,
they start seeing little funny men running around on the dashboard and on the wings.
I mean, I told multiple people this too. Like, I have a recurring nightmare and dream, like, where I don't charge my phone, and this is why I keep my phone charged at all times. And my phone's dead, and I see a UFO do something like crazy, like it pick up a cow and throw it or something, and then and I can't film it, and then it ruins my life.
Oh,
like,
man.
Because how could I can't shut the fuck up about it.
And you start telling people, and they don't believe you, and they say, okay, where's your footage? And you say, oh, my phone was dead.
And they
dead.
Go, and they're like,
likely story.
And I'll be like in job interviews, and they're like, what's the most challenging thing I'm like, seeing a UFO. I fucking threw a cow through my house. Yeah. And I'm really afraid of that. And that's why I always, like, make sure.
And then imagine they Google your name.
And I'm the UFO guy.
Yeah, then you're the UFO guy. Why would you ever want to disclose?
Exactly, folks. So don't stigmatize disclosers. There was a political candidate, wasn't there, that was, like, really prominent, that kind of got disgraced for saying he saw one, didn't he?
Vermin Supreme?
Yeah. Everyone thinks that guy's some kind of joke, but if you actually look at everything else about him, he's very serious. Okay, well, so, right, I mean, I do want to ask, I don't want to dwell on this too long, but, I know you've thought about aliens probably a lot.
Yeah.
Just being in these
communities.
Can you tell? I have too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Why do you think they'd come to Earth, right? That's like a big question, right? Like, there's a whole thing of, like, maybe we don't like, why would they come here? We're kind of a backwater planet. Is there a reason why they'd come here? And they kind of deal with this in the movie. Like, it's already been shown that there's, like, fucking gasoline and atomic shit, like, on all these other planets, right? Like, all rare earth metals. We have all that same stuff. I think something, like, really specific, like cheese, for example. Like, cheese, I don't think you could get the fucking anywhere. Yeah, I think that's why they take them. Because, like, think about, like, how specific that is, right? Like, you have to have a species that has modified sweat glands that produce, like, a fatty nutrient substance that you partially digest with specific bacteria to make milky sweat juice. And you have a guy with a mustache, like, stir it, and store it in like a fucking, a thing for like 9 years. You can't, that's like so random. You can't get that anywhere else. And I think they would come here for something like that. I think they would come here
That's
for
a pretty
cheese.
good theory. Yeah.
Yeah. I have read like a sci-fi short story. They came here for wood. I think like a wood is like another, because it's plant specific.
They
Wood
love
has a
it.
strong
They just
tensile
like
strength.
wood.
They love.
They love those like live edge tables.
Yeah, it's like a whole like cottage industry of cottages. Because I mean, it's wood's like a good material. It's like better than steel in some cases. It's like cheap and you can grow it.
It's cheap unless that's the reason you're coming to a different planet to harvest it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Signs, there's a plot point where they talk about this. Where
About wanting wood?
no, they take humans, right?
Oh, but why they're here?
Yeah, why they're here.
Yeah. So there's a difference about why they're here and why they would like invade, right?
Yeah.
And I think this movie handles it well because they say there's a couple options, either they're peaceful or they're not. And
That's like such a wild dichotomy too, because it's like they could just be in the middle too. Like they could show up and kind of just see what we're up to first.
right, but and that's what the movie's kind of saying is happening in real life. The movie is saying, look, don't be so quick to think there aren't aliens because just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there.
I mean, it's tough for me too, because I have a biochem background, right? So like I have.
Here we go.
Look, folks, okay? I do think that there could be different types of life. Maybe there's life that's like self-conscious and they're like waves or whatever in another dimension, But I do think it's like a tough problem to think about. Like when you think about kind of how biological processes happen, right? Like, we're made of DNA. Would that kind of cross over to any other forms of life that didn't evolve on this planet, right? Like, would amino acids assemble in the same way? Would RNA assemble the same way? How would you have a genetic, system basically outside of Earth? And shit like that would actually be the thing I'm interested in the most if we ever find alien life is like, what the fuck is happening? Do they have cells? Like, are they, are they goo dudes? Like, that's like the biggest hurdle, I think, for life on other planets is just like, how the fuck do you get to that point, biochemically?
Right, and that's maybe my real explanation for why I think the aliens would be here is just that Earth is a cool spot. And
it's cool.
It's like perfect. Like, oh my gosh, have you been to, Rochester, New York? It's like perfect.
Yeah, it definitely makes me think, right? Because UFO people, there is an assumption that Earth is special, that like there's a reason why there's like all these ships are showing up.
If not unique,
right?
then very rare.
And then even Carl Sagan was like, are we like a pit stop? Are we like a cool tourist attraction?
I think we're a sight to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to get into the movie here?
Yeah, let's do it.
So like we said, we kind of discussed seeing Signs for a while. Ryan, you said you watched this like twice a year with Julie?
Yeah, because it's an amazing subject matter to watch a movie on. It's amazing. It's so cool. But also, it's one of her favorite movies, like literally top 5 favorite movies almost. And then it's like in my top 20-ish. So yeah, we'll rewatch. Anytime anybody's in a Signs mood, we'll be like, Signs?
Yeah. That's a lot of times to watch a movie too. It's like you probably know this thing like front to back.
Yeah, and me and Julie were having that discussion today. Because we start to pre-laugh, or like pre-cry even, when something sad is going to happen, and it gives like watching a movie a different experience because it's different. Like it's a thing we're doing together, and we know what's going to happen, and we're like, yeah, let's go on it. Let's go on this roller coaster again. We know where it's going to lead us and everything, but it's still fun.
That's fun. And I think this is a fun movie to do that with too, because the movie is like fun. Like it's fun. It's
jam packed.
Did you see this movie when it came out in 2002?
Yeah, Thus the Way I Am.
Yeah. I think whenever you look up this movie online too, and you talk to anyone born in the 90s, basically, they all have the same fucking reaction to Signs. And it's not like this with any other movie, I think, where you mention Signs and everyone's like, oh yeah.
That fucking for my whole life.
Yeah, there's always a very enthusiastic response to this movie because everyone freaked the fuck out when they saw this thing. And it's in a way that's so specific, right? Like, it's not like a typical horror movie.
Or a
like,
slasher or a ghost movie where you're like, okay, I guess like technically that could happen if a couple things I didn't think true were true. Mm-hmm. But Aliens is such a unknown. And it's something that we don't know about whether we're right or wrong. And we can't ever know until we discover that we're wrong. We'll never determine that we're right. And so it's this like always kind of like something teetering on a cliff. And the knowledge that any day aliens could show up and it could be just like this movie is scary.
That's scary as fuck. Yeah. Like You never really hear someone say like, "Oh, Saw, that was the movie." You know, it's like something
That
like that.
really made me scared of being kidnapped and put into a basement where I had to make really weird moral choices.
I mean, that is a horrifying premise, but no one ever says that about that movie. But even when you say Signs, you almost see the color drain out of somebody's face. And they start like remembering these scenes that really stick out.
And I think the main reason why is this is not a horror movie.
Yeah.
And therefore it was shown to a lot of children. The problem is that it's a horror movie. And so for me, about the first alien reveal about 10 minutes into the movie became, still to this day, when I take my dog outside to go pee at night before bed, I can't look at the roof across the street.
Because you're afraid you're going to see...
Because I'm afraid I'm going to see a man standing on the roof.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I couldn't look out windows. I couldn't do anything.
And that's how you know you made a movie that's good.
And every night he goes to bed.
Every
and he's like, you know what? I can make as many shitty movies as I want because I know at least I did traumatize an entire generation.
I fucked up those kids. I mean, M. Night, like, this is coming off of The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Like, this is... People usually consider this...
The greatest
run
of movies ever.
Yeah, I like The Village. I'll put a little bit of The Village at the end of that. This was his hot streak, right? Because
oh my God, Unbreakable is like the best superhero movie ever.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Sixth Sense is like the best ghost movie ever. And then
It's
you have
amazing.
like the best alien movie ever. He's like ba ba ba.
Bangers back to back, and I'll even say it. I liked Lady in the Water. And I thought The Happening was hilarious. I mean, I love this director. He does huge swings. Like, he is just like Meryl in this movie. I think Meryl is the director, where he will swing as hard as he fucking can, no matter what it is. And then after the movie's over, you're going to have an opinion. You're never going to be like, that was just okay.
And that's what I really appreciate. Yeah. And that's why, like, when an M. Night movie comes out, I'm okay sitting it to the side and saying that at some point I'm going to watch this.
Yes.
And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch this fucking movie. Whereas, like, other directors, a lot of the time, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. And I think nowadays there's two horror directors I can think of that come to mind are, like, Robert Eggers and Ari Aster. David Lowery I really like as well. But when they make a movie, I kind of, like, set it to the side and say at some point I'm going to make time for this movie.
Yeah, I agree. But it's not even like, we look at like a Christopher Nolan, like people are like that with that director, and people are like, different. Oh, I'm going to...
I'll skip a Christopher Nolan every now and then.
Yeah, dude. You see an M. Night movie, you're like, oh, this is going to be lit. Like, seeing the Trap trailer, I was like, this looks like it could be fucking messy and maybe shitty. I'm going to love this movie.
Is there a new one?
You see the trailer for Trap?
No.
Oh, Ryan. Okay, folks at home, just pause your... this is not a Trap advertisement.
Are you serious?
Watch the Trap movie trailer. It looks amazing, dude. Like, are you just going to watch it right now? I'll watch it with you. We can share the screen.
Sure.
Okay, we just watched the Trap trailer.
That is funny because...
yeah.
Because during the trailer, I was like, you know what? I already know what the twist is.
Yeah. Same. I was like, I thought it was so smart.
Once again, he's M-nighting you and he's telling you the twist in the trailer.
Yeah.
Which is a twist. Yeah.
I loved that. Like, rewatching, I was like, I'm gonna see this movie. This movie looks fucking sweet. But yeah, like, you see an M. Night movie, you get fucking excited. This is like 2002. We're in the year of like fucking Austin Powers. You get the Master of Disguise out of the same year. This movie kind of starts, right? Like, I think instantly it moves fast. Like, Amber was like, oh, this shit's rolling.
Oh, like, yeah. Thank fucking God it doesn't spend like a normal movie where the first third is like, I'm going to take my kid to school.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad about the divorce. And then like they introduce you to plot. No, it's like that. The opening scene is a empty hallway with there's a freaking empty like dirty cross symbol where a cross was
already
hanging on the wall.
Characterization.
And it's now been taken off the wall and you can see the outline of the dirt. And you're like, oh my God, I understand everything I need to know about this character.
Yeah. It's like the baby shoes never worn.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's so dense. Yeah.
And that's what I love about this 3-movie reign of M. Night Shyamalan is that I don't think in those 3 movies, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, Signs, I don't think there's a single second that's wasted. And I don't think that there's a single second that should be extended either. He does this thing, especially in this movie, where he takes really long shots where other directors would split them up. And therefore, when he does cut or when he does edit in a certain way that's maybe more predictable, he's still doing something with that shot. Like when this is jumping ahead a little bit, but when they go into town, he has a really beautiful like side profile of Mel Gibson with the cars all lined up on one side, and Mel Gibson kind of walks into the center of the camera, and then the family splits up, and one goes one way and one goes the other. And that's really like, he uses a reverse shot to show that Joaquin Phoenix is walking one direction and the kids are walking the other direction. And a normal director wouldn't be like, let's like artfully craft a way to show through camera work that the family is going to different stores. And I think
it tells you something.
It tells you something. And also it shows that these kids are like mature enough to walk around town on their own. And they're like freaking 8 years old. The oldest one is. I think there's not a second lost in this movie.
I agree. It's so economical, and it's also like made to be a movie. Like you say this a lot, where there's certain things where you can't put it in a book or something,
right?
And there's scenes where you're just like, that is what a movie's for. Like boom, like you cannot replicate that any other way. But this movie gets started off right after the races. Kids are screaming. The fucking signs are here, man. They are here. Like that's the first thing, and he like runs out and he sees the cornfield, and I love how it shows just the reactions first with him and Joaquin, and it's just their faces. And you're like, what the fuck are they looking at? And they see it, and you see like the crop circle,
right?
Which is so sick.
And I think the first line of dialogue, maybe he talks to Joaquin right before he goes into the cornfield. But the first line of dialogue said by one of the kids is Abigail Breslin. And when Mel Gibson, who was her father, she's about 3 years old or 4 years old, and she is the cutest thing on the planet.
I know, yeah. She's like a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah. And he kneels down next to her, and she says, like, are you in my dreams too? And you're like, wait, what? Like, how old is this?
Yeah.
Is this like an 80-year-old like soothsayer, or is this a small child?
She has the most incredible line reads, all the way down to there's a monster outside my room. Can I have a glass of water? And if my kid said that, I am burning the house down.
But also, like, something about that line too is like, you're expecting to laugh at her. Oh, there's a monster outside my room. And also, like a different movie, you're expecting that reveal to come like way later. And instead, what this movie does is a character says there's a monster outside my room. Okay, let's go. There's a fucking monster outside her room. Like, and that's my favorite thing about this movie. Like, and this is something that I said to Julie before we watched this, and she's like, you know what, you were totally right. Is that like everybody in this movie says exactly what they mean, and they're 100% earnest. And the moment any person in this movie becomes cynical, they get corrected. Mm-hmm. When Joaquin Phoenix mouths off to the cop, she just stares at him, and he apologizes. And he doesn't even really, he just kind of like says, unless there's a Scandinavian pole jumper or whatever. And then, like, when Mel Gibson gets a little bit of an attitude and gets defeatist, Joaquin Phoenix is like, don't you ever get that fucking look on your face again. And when they're reading the book, the conspiracy theorist book, of which we're going to talk about, Mel Gibson starts mocking the people who wrote it and stuff. And the freaking, like, 8-year-old kid, like, shuts the book and says, hey, if you're going to take that attitude, we're not even going to do this together anymore. And he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's so uncynical. Like, it's a very particular worldview, and I think they say it straight up in the movie. But like, we've mentioned this scene before, I think in another episode, with the corn scene, just to take us back for a sec to the crop circles, where they're like, it's impossible for someone to bend corn this good. Like, that's how you know it's not a human, because it's too hard. But then they actually did it, though, for the movie.
Okay.
Like that.
Do you want me to go on? So I actually possess, and I'm serious, I actually possess like shelves of those alien conspiracy books.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
And they were gifted to me by a wizard.
Hell yes. Okay.
And
yes.
I'm not joking.
Was this the wizard? Was this the music wizard that you found?
No, this is a friend of mine who's a wizard.
Okay, that's amazing.
He was downsizing his library, so he gave me all these alien books.
Hell yes. Okay.
And
love that.
They're books on numerous things, and one of them is on crop circles and cow mutilations.
Okay.
And just like the book in this movie, that they're reading from, it's that same sort of thing where this is Dr. So-and-so, and he's been persecuted for his beliefs.
Yeah, his beliefs. Yeah, I love
exact
that.
Same thing. And so there's a phenomenon of crop circles. There's two guys in the UK who made the vast majority of the ones in the UK. Okay, it's actually they're actually referenced in this movie when they say board and some rope. That's how they made them in the UK. Those two guys, and they're like the ultimate pranksters. They would show up when the news cameras came, and then they would give interviews as like witnesses.
Incredible.
Yeah. So they can bend the stock like really, really believably in a way that you would be like, holy hell, this one's real. All the other ones are fake, but this one that I'm at right now is real because no human could bend that. Well, true, it was a board, but the conspiracy theorists have two aces up their sleeve. The first one is that there's too many crop circles. Those two guys couldn't be making all of them, which is a point, but also other people could. And the second point is at the knuckles, like corn and wheat. Because a lot of them, the crop circles happen in wheat as well, where those plants they have knuckles, like your finger, and a lot of them, the knuckles are popped. They're almost look like they've been heated up, and almost like popcorn. Imagine like popcorn, the knuckles on the plants have been exploded almost, and they've been bent at the knuckles rather than bent on the shaft part of it between the knuckles, and for some reason, that's one of their things. They say, yes, absolutely, this was done by aliens. Because what aliens do is they hover their ship, and it heats the corn, and then the knuckles get really de-stressed or something, and then they just knock them over at the knuckles.
So they actually think they know the process, not even just that aliens did it. They think they know how they did it.
Because they have they have all these samples of mutated corn and stuff that they say they've retrieved.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love that. But I think it's also wild that it's just it's less likely that you could bend corn like that, even with the knuckle thing, than aliens coming here.
Oh yeah, I think it's a bunch of baloney.
Even I guess even to the in the movie, the cop, she was, I forgot her name, I'm forgetting the character's
Caroline,
name, but she
I
was
think.
where she was a couple of guys with some boards can do this, and I think that they do straight up address that, right, where they're even so, this is probably some bullshit, and he's even not convinced, which I like I like how Mel Gibson's character, he's such a farm dad, and he's just oh fuck, I don't know. And he just kind of, he's kind of just all right, it's probably those kids.
It's probably Michael Showalter.
Yeah. You get to the gut. We mentioned this. You see the monster outside the room for the kid. I think that's one of the first big scenes that I think everybody remembers in the movie, where you look outside. I actually missed this on my first watch when I was a kid.
Thank God. You would be a completely different person. We wouldn't have having this conversation right now.
Because I remember watching that scene in the movie. I think we rented on VHS. My mom screamed all of a sudden, because he goes in the room and he looks out the window. And I think I must have just looked at my glass of water or something. And then my mom screamed. My dad was like, "Oh Jesus!" and then it happened, and they wouldn't rewind it. My mom was like, "Oh, there's a guy outside," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then, so seeing it this time, I think was the first time I got a good look at it. And I was like, wow, 2002 special effects, whatever, that's scary. That's fucking scary. It looks terrifying.
So what was your viewing experience like this time? Because did you watched it alone?
I watched it with Amber, who was a first-time watcher.
Okay. Did you guys actually watch it?
Yeah, we sat down, we watched it. I took a little break halfway through to play with Otto because he was getting a little restless.
Was that at night?
Yeah, it was that night.
And what was the experience?
It was great. We were laughing our asses off at the surprising amount of comedy in this movie.
It's funny.
It's just a fun movie. It wasn't horrifying like I thought it'd be. I thought I would be very really just stressed watching it. But it was actually just a fun. It felt like a roller coaster, like you said. Not something like watching Alien where you're just disturbed. Mm-hmm. And it's your thing you have to get through, This movie is like an action movie, really. I think it's very fun to watch. And you kind of have these moments with the guy on the roof, right? Where they have that scene where it's oh, I'm insane with anger.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to beat your ass. Men only have two moods.
And I love scenes like that. And I think M. Night understands kind of how to do this scare, laugh, and it kind of almost increases the pace between those two things.
I think absolutely comedy and horror have the same beat points.
I think, and they're harder to pull off, right? Because if it doesn't land, it sucks.
Yeah. You miss a single one of those lead up, those breadcrumbs, and it doesn't work.
And also throughout this movie, I feel like we're going to talk about every detail, but the tone in this movie is almost Lynchian or something. It's like a dream, right? It's weird. there's a scene with the military guy, for example, who's talking to Joaquin Phoenix. And Amber's like, "What? Why is he talking like that?" Where he's like, "Oh, I've seen something like this, brother." Like
Yeah.
he's talking like it's called probing. They send a guy over, and his eyes are like literally falling out of his head when he's talking.
Yeah, but at the same time, I completely agree, and I love that. And it is Lynchian because Lynchian does the same thing where Lynch does everything's earnest, and nobody's laughing at him.
Right.
Nobody is saying you're crazy.
Joaquin's
and even
like, oh, okay.
Lionel Pritchard, played by the one and only Michael Showalter, is sitting there off camera with a hilarious reveal later in that same scene. Yeah. And even he, who has been actually the scapegoat from Joaquin Phoenix, from Meryl's family, as the actual person who's been pranking them, he's in the same enlistment office as Meryl. And nobody is really laughing at each other until they start talking about baseball. And they reveal that, he's like, this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie because this is the whole movie. It just in one scene. The military guy says all this stuff about what's really happening. And then he says, "Hey, you look familiar. Aren't you that You're Meryl. You're the baseball guy. Man, I was there the day you hit that 507-footer over the field. Yeah. You hold all these records, yada, yada, yada. What happened?" And then Lionel picks up from off screen. And this is the reveal that there's someone else in the room. And he says, "Because he's got another record he doesn't want you to know about. All-time strikeouts. Doesn't matter, yada, yada, yada. He'd swing no matter what." And then it goes quiet, right? And Meryl says, "Felt wrong not to swing."
Such a good line. It's like such a perfect characterization.
Yeah, like, I'm there. I'm going to swing. Yeah. And that's what his dad is like. That's what his nephew is like. That's what his niece is like. That's what everybody in this town is like. I'm not going to mess with you. You throw that ball at me, and I'm going to swing at it. Like, they're not trying to trick you. They're not trying to play games with you. Like, they're telling you how it is. When you throw a ball at Meryl, you know what's going to happen. And, like, even in that scene, the person who is making fun of Meryl gets their comeuppance because Meryl comes over to him because Lionel's kind of acting like a tough guy, right? Making fun of Meryl. Yeah. And then Meryl walks up to him and does the makes him flinch. It goes like, ugh. And acts like he's going to punch him. And then he flinches and it's like, oh, man. So, like, that scene exemplifies everything this movie is about. And this movie is just a collection of scenes exactly like that, where every scene is a mini version of itself. And that's why at the end of the movie, you're never seeing anything for the first time. And that's, I think, what's so special about movies that are crafted this way, where everything that happens is on purpose, not only from a visual perspective, which is this movie does as well, but also from a story and dialogue perspective. Every single word is either serving to build character, to illuminate something that you've already heard, or to provide a ground for something in the future. And there's not many movies that can say they can do that.
Yeah, it's almost like an Ouroboros thing where it's just like everything folds back on itself. It's like it's completely contained and there's nothing, like you said, nothing's wasted. It's an earnest story about earnestness from a director who's, I think, very earnest. Like,
yeah, but at the same time is known for tricking people.
Right.
That's the great trick. Is like, this movie doesn't have a twist. It has.
Yeah, I don't really think so. Yeah.
It has a message, but doesn't, and it reveals what that message is and reveals a new way of thinking about its message, but it doesn't have a twist.
Yeah, I mean, well, so you have scenes like that, and you also have like the other scene where Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix are kind of together, and it even fleshes out that thing again where it's talking about, are there coincidences? Group 1 versus group 2, which is another amazing scene. I don't think I could even, I don't want to like use up the time to recite it, but it's like, that's just such a fucking great character scene between the both of them. Yeah. It's just literally like, this is what we both believe in. It irons out everything you need to know about the both of them, and I think it's such a great piece of dialogue.
I think it's one of the greatest monologues ever. Even so like good. Both of them.
It's so good.
Because Joaquin's piece is a lot shorter, but every aspect of his story about making out with this girl who ends up throwing up on herself, like every second of that story, he's either using it to tell you the story or to like laugh at himself for getting in this situation. And Mel Gibson, that story is really where everything changes. And he reveals why he no longer believes in his religion. And then once again, you're like, oh, now I get it. But then later in the movie, that's the message that the finale comments on. So in the way that there is a twist in this movie, it's a twist on that speech, right? Because you believe that Mel Gibson is type 2 and Joaquin is type 1, and Mel Gibson thinks that. And he says, I'm type 2. Type 1s, you can be over there and live your thing. I used to be like you, but then I realized, no, I'm actually type 2. And then in the final moments of the movie, he's like, oh my God, I was a type 1.
It's so good. We talked about the picture scene. That's the other memorable thing, where he sees a painting of his own house in this UFO book.
Oh my God.
That one gives me existential terror. I think I remember that one. Like it really just makes your guts just like crawl inside. Like you feel just kind of like sick when you look at it. And the camera pans.
The pan to the 3 dead bodies on the ground. You're like,
that looks like him and the kids, dude. Oh my God. And I remember when the movie ended, I remember Amber was like, what about the picture? What the fuck was that? Like, that was horrifying.
And that's just an example of this movie being like taking advantage of the viewer in ways that it does absolutely has no business doing. Like, it has no business being as good as it is. Mm-hmm. Even the little things like this little drawing in a book. Afterwards, you're like, wait, can we rewind a second? How did the author know? And there's like little bits of dialogue in this movie that like really get lost. And there's so many funny lines, like the "why can't they get girlfriends" line from Abigail Breslin, like after he goes on this like big rant. And I totally agree that this movie is funny, but also every little bit is scary. Like there's nothing they talk about that you're not like, oh no, I hope that doesn't actually happen.
Well, speaking of scary, you have the Brazilian birthday party, which we alluded to. That one was voted like scariest scene of all time in a lot of like lists. Like people always just have that scene. And it's the only jump scare I could think of that is not like the monster pops out. The monster walks out. It's just like a very easy reveal. And and it looks like shit, honestly. It's like a blurry, it's like a Sasquatch thing. But for some reason, that blurry ass video is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
And I think it's because he's spent like an hour selling you on the analog feel of this movie. There's no digital manipulation in this. There's nobody here who is crazy for thinking something. And therefore, when finally, when he's in his little closet and he's looking at his only him and this TV, the only two things that exist in this world, and he's like, "Come on, children, vamos, vamos," and they've put so much time and effort into making the viewer believe that everything that's happening is happening, and that there's no chance that someone is being misled. That when you actually see it happen, you're like, oh shit, it's the weight that I think is behind that reveal makes it scary. Because up until then, you see things, but like you don't know that the aliens are there, and then they're fucking there, like right in front of you.
You're right in the sense too that M. Night knows how to build tension until you are almost insane with tension. Like it's building so much the birthday because you're trying to look through the kids, you're looking at the leaves and shit. You're like,
it's one of those jump scare videos where you're like leading around, and even the characters on the screen, because you're watching a couple layers deep.
Yeah,
and so even the characters on the screen are leaning and squinting.
And then Joaquin, I think what sticks in my head too is Joaquin's reaction, which I think sells it.
He grabs his own face and he's like, oh,
and he falls out of he falls back in his chair. He's like, oh my God, and then like you feel like it's real, right? Like it feels so fucking real in that sense. You have another. We're going like scene by scene. I want to skip ahead a little bit. Mm-hmm. You kind of have multiple true believer scenes, I think, for Mel Gibson, where he's kind of skeptical about kind of the alien presence in this movie. You have the first one where he kind of sees the alien leg for the first time in that one shot where he comes back in, he's dead silent. And everybody looks at him.
And he sits down on the kitchen table.
Yeah. But my favorite is the second scene where he chops the alien's fingers off.
Oh, God.
And that's the true believer scene where he's like, he knows what's fucking happening. And he just comes in and then he sits down and he just sees his kids and Joaquin with the tinfoil hats on. And they're both looking at each other and they're thinking the exact same thing, where it's like, it's happening. I just love that scene with him. And the finger scene, that scared the shit out of me. That was another tension.
Yeah. The more I rewatch this movie, the more I appreciate like how craftfully they build up, because like sometimes they won't land those jumps. Like when a jump scare is coming, too many people put too many filmmakers put emphasis on the actual scare, like the jump itself, and not enough on the build up. And M. Night is really interesting that he seems to appreciate them all equally, and it makes it worth watching the build up, because the build up itself is interesting, and that's something that's so unique about this movie.
It was like it's like when you're looking like under a bathroom stall to see if anyone's feet are there, and
an alien hand pops out.
Yeah, it's like, it's so much, because you're like, you don't really have a lot of information, and like what he's doing is he's looking, and you're expecting to see an alien's feet in there. You don't see anything, and he kind of does the knife thing where he's trying to see the reflection, and it's taking like a long time. It's taking like 5 minutes. And me and Amber are like grabbing each other. We were like, holy shit, like when's it coming? When the alien finally sticks his hand out, you're screaming, and then he's also like screaming and looking for the knife to like cut the fingers off. That scene is just like ingrained in my psyche forever. And I was like, why don't you save the fingers? Like I'd save the fingers. I don't know. That was
also think about how like most of the jump scares in this movie, or at least like the sightings, are preceded by him being told something's there.
Yeah, because he's like, I caught it in the pantry.
Yeah, he says, hey, father, by the way, don't open my pantry. I locked one of them in there. And then like earlier, there's a monster outside my bedroom. Like, he's curious. And he's not a denier. He's literally saying, oh, I'll go look for myself. That's
he's
a
such
really
a country
interesting
dad.
like character trait.
It is. It's like when you tell your friend's dad there's like a bear outside, and they're like, oh, well, let me put my jacket. Like they kind of go, and he could have got help with the pantry, but instead he wanted to just see an alien
right
by himself. Like he could have got Joaquin. But it makes me wonder about this thing too, because the ufologists at this point were saying that like, if they attack, they'll definitely attack without technology, which I think is a wild thing to assume, because they're like, if they came in with like fighter jets, we would like nuke them and destroy our own planet. So they're gonna show up butt ass naked, raw dogging our atmosphere, and just start boxing with all of us one on one.
Yeah, and I do agree that that's where the movie is easily criticized.
Yeah.
And the logic of it. And I think that overall, the logic of this movie doesn't matter. Like, there's so many things you could say logically don't make sense. But this movie is not about a true action, hero story about how one man overcame the odds. It's about a family's journey and a pastor or father like refining his faith. So when people are like, it doesn't matter because the water in our atmosphere has water in it, and they would see the oceans and stuff, I'd be like, yeah, but also that doesn't matter.
It's not what the movie's about.
Yeah.
I mean, it also it reminds me of like War of the Worlds, like the newer one.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
Where we're invaded. Yeah, by like the stupidest aliens in the entire universe, where like an alien literally sees a broken sewage pipe and he's like, and he like starts drinking out of it, and he's like, oh, I don't know, and he like picks up a sandwich and starts like eating it or like sniffing it and stuff. And it's like, are you guys from a planet that like doesn't have germs? You guys are really smart, right? Like, I mean, I guess maybe not. Maybe they're like, the people who came to Earth are like,
they sent the Hicks.
They sent like these like hillbilly aliens who are like religious extremists who don't believe in bacteria. Actually, that would be yeah. Like they're butt ass naked, and they just like start. I don't know.
But they're also butt ass naked because they're camouflagey.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They're like chameleons, aren't they?
Yeah, they're better than chameleons. They can like live update.
Well, yeah, but then they also have gas. Like they can Spider-Man squirt gas at each other.
They do Spider-Man, yeah.
But then like, is there like tons of like murders on their planet from them Spider-Manning each other with gas?
Probably.
Like is that like a huge issue?
Yeah,
like,
but think about this: like? when they saw our opposable thumbs, do you think they're like,
yeah,
are there murders on their planet about like choking people to death? Like, yeah,
they have thumbs too. Yeah, but it's like, when two aliens are like drunk at a bar and they're fighting, are they both just trying to gas each other back and forth? They're gassing?
I mean, like a certain amount of an animal's like defense stuff is about, fighting with his own species.
Right. So you think they're both gassing, or do you think they're immune to the gas?
No, they're not immune. Think about rams. They both have horns. To do what? To fight other rams.
For example, if it's like rutting season for these aliens, you think they're going to be gassing
left and right,
and they're trying to whoever has like maybe the most strongest gas, like it's like a Harry Potter thing where they're like, and they're pushing the gas at each other, and
right, exactly.
I don't know, these aliens are weird, man. I don't know. Like I want to know more about them. I want to know about their world.
That's why they came here.
Yeah, because we don't have gas. How does it end? We should end this movie.
How's it end?
Yeah, we should end this movie.
Let's see. How does it end?
They board up the house basically. And they're getting reports that they're like, oh, yeah, there's UFOs over every single city, and we think they're hostile. They're gonna come down. And the U.S. military, I guess, is not doing anything. I don't buy that. I think we would be launching rockets like idiots.
The U.S. military, what would they do for a farmhouse in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think they would launch in other cities, right? Because they let them come really close.
Yeah, but,
like, I feel like our military is so trigger happy. I think the moment it enters our airspace...
That's what we're saying, though.
Yeah.
Denali, that's what the real life people are saying. Because we see shit in our airspace. And they're like...
Oh, they're not...
Our explanation is... Or our question is, if you see all this shit in your airspace and you don't know what it is, why are you letting it fly over our nuclear missile silos and our air bases and our Capitol buildings and stuff? And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's probably drones or another country's military. And we're like,
but like...
Exactly! We're like, exactly, that's our point. Is that you say it's probably another country's military and you didn't do anything about it?
You want him to shoot him?
Yes.
Oh, Ryan, World War III.
No, shooting down something that's flying over your own military base on your own country is not World War III material.
Ryan. Well, folks, we have our global politics expert on the podcast today, and he thinks we should shoot everything in the sky. Well, okay, I will say, if it's a UFO that millions can see, I think that's like a different situation than being like, I don't know, it could be like a balloon or something. Like,
yeah, but imagine you're the like Futurama version of Richard Nixon.
Okay.
And you're like, yeah, let's shoot him down. And you're the guy who says, yeah, there's one F-15, let's shoot one missile at this giant UFO spaceship. And then it does nothing. And then they launch this giant city-destructing ray down at the ground in retaliation. Like,
what if they come from a planet that is missileless? They don't even know what that is. Like, what if, because they're invading hand-to-hand. Maybe that's their only concept of
what
fighting.
What if it's just hello gas?
Yeah, what if they're like, what are they going to do? Gas us? We're all the way up here. They can't wrist gas us, so there's no fucking problem. And we shoot a missile?
That's kind of actually the plot of Scary Movie 3. Have you seen that?
It's been since it came out.
Okay, so that's one problem with the Scary Movie franchise is like Scream and Signs are my favorite movies. And I have scenes before, until I watch the actual movie, I have scenes from the parody versions like stuck in my brain.
I remember the pissing out of the fingers. That's all I remember.
No, exactly. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we just came to this planet because we downloaded what we thought was a copy of Pootie Tang. And it was actually like the Ring Girl video.
Stupid.
And so they're like peaceful.
Well, God, what are we doing? They board up the house, right? And they're waiting for the aliens to come in, which is a terrifying scene.
It's scary,
and they're coming in. They kind of end up in the basement. There's the alien hand scene.
They forgot about the attic.
Holy piss, dude.
The alien hand scene on the coal chute is like so good.
It's really good because you're not sure if you see it at first, and then you really see it, which is so like M. Night Shyamalan. There's a part in there that I think is kind of terrifying in its own way where you see the aliens knocking at the door, and the guy's like, they're not trying to break in. They're trying to focus our attention on the door while they try to do something else. And I think that is fucking scary. Like, it's the idea of being hunted like that.
Right.
Where an alien's trying to trick you by knocking on the door.
It's some Predator shit.
Yeah. That's really scary to me. And it gives me chills to even think about being in a situation.
Because imagine
like
in real life. Okay.
Yeah.
You're stuck in this fucking basement with an 8-year-old and a former pastor and a 4-year-old girl that you're supposed to like protect, right?
Worst draft pick for a fighting crew I've ever seen.
And the 8-year-old is kind of a smart ass. And he's like, you finally, you with your big old brain determine, they're distracting me. And then the smart ass kid is like, they came 20,000 light years in giant ass spaceships. They're probably really good problem solvers. They're looking for an alternate way to get in. And you're like, immediately your reaction is, now I got to compete with this. Like
Right.
these so-called great problem solvers. And if I don't, this snarky kid is going to have some comment. It's like this is worst case scenario.
It really is. It also makes me think, though, because, like, let's say I'm the alien in that situation, right? And, like, I'm from this advanced civilization, and I drive my car to, like, this anthill. And I'm like, I don't know how to make a car. I barely know how to operate it. I'm not, like, these aliens could be total dinguses. We don't know what their deal is. So maybe they're totally drunk, too. Like, they make weird decisions in this movie. Maybe they're on some alien, maybe they gassed themselves. Because when the alien's reaching through the coal chute, his hand is kind of just dangling like a wet noodle.
Yeah.
And then he kind of just like feels for the kid's face.
I think it's a situation where he knows he has to be still.
He sees the flashlight and he's like, oh, fuck.
And then for the camouflage to work, he has to be still.
He's like, no, he sees me. I'm going to grab the kid.
Yeah. But yeah, I think imagining yourself as the alien makes this movie pretty funny because, like, in the very first scene when there's the alien on the roof, and at night, imagine you're like, okay, first night invading. I got my assignment. Okay, so let's see here. Assignment. Possibly empty farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. One family.
God damn it.
I terrorized one family. You know, some other guy picked, the White House. I get dumbass farmhouse. Okay, but you know what? This is a time for me to just sink this putt. You know, let's get par and let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And you're limbering up, and then you're looking through this little girl's window, and you're like, and then you get seen, and you're like, God, fuck! I didn't think he was gonna. I honestly didn't think he was gonna turn around.
He looked through the window.
He probably saw me.
These guys are so smart.
Okay, you know what? Everybody loses one. I'm just gonna hang out over here, and then I'll wait until they lose it. Oh, they're coming out! They're coming after me!
Oh fuck!
And then just think okay, I'm gonna beat these guys, and then he's like barely outrunning Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson.
These aliens are fit as hell too, because they could jump 10 feet in the air.
And I'm sure they're like, we can't get discovered on night one.
Yeah,
we absolutely cannot blow the whole invasion by getting discovered on night one. And he's like pushing his limits to jump up on those roofs and go into those cornfields.
Yeah, what if that's really hard for him? Like, what if actually they're not like that?
And then he gets back and he's like, guys,
I pulled my groin jumping onto that thing, and he caught up to me in the cornfield. He saw my leg.
Like it was so close. We way underestimated. We should have brought weapons.
Why didn't we wear clothes? Why am I? Wait, am I the only naked alien? Why? These guys.
You guys brought compression shorts? What the hell?
It's like just even a t-shirt would have bought that alien maybe a second to take it up, It's just like, yeah. And I'm also just like trying to think what are they doing in terms of the house, right? Because they're very strong and they're just kind of tapping on the windows.
No, they bust the windows and they crawl in.
They crawl in? Okay. I'm trying.
And the final scene, they do show the busted windows from the bedrooms that they didn't have enough boards to board off.
Okay, so they did come in. You get the final showdown to kind of wrap this up. I think the greatest reveal in the scene, or in the movie, which is the TV reflection where he wheels it in. That made my heart drop because I forgot about that movie scene until he starts wheeling the thing out and you start zooming in on the reflection and you're like, holy shit, it's gonna happen. And you see the figure standing there and then the music spikes. But before that scene happens, you see the Chekhov's bat. Like when he takes his son into the room, right? You see the top right. It's a
I
great
didn't see
prop.
it on the way in, yeah.
When you see it, it kind of sticks out. Like it's very clean. It's a prop that sticks, and it's Meryl's bat. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, Chekhov's bat. It's gonna come up.
Yeah.
It's gonna come up. And I'm remembering the scene now.
I think the reveal is so at the end, like after we get the flashback and we come back into the present, and Meryl is told by Mel Gibson to swing away. The pan out to reveal the bat that's like right next to him.
Oh my lord!
And Joaquin Phoenix is like absolute masterclass in acting, where he like slowly turns at the hips towards because okay, there's an 8-foot alien in front of you who's like has your nephew hostage. Okay, and your uncle or your brother actually just told you to cryptically swing away. And
Yeah.
you're kind of located like somewhat close to the old bat that you had mounted on the wall. Could he possibly? No. Look, this is a real serious situation. We're talking about aliens right now. He's not talking about my old baseball days.
Yeah.
But just in case, I'm going to kind of pivot and maybe turn and see if he was talking about that. Oh, shit. He totally was.
He wants me to hit him with a fucking bat?
I think the body language from Joaquin Phoenix in this entire movie, but especially that scene, is like, it's so character accurate. And
it's
the whatever critiques you have of the final scene, none of them are about the characters.
It's giving such like college jock energy too, where he's just like, is he? But I'd be so OCD that I would be like, no, that's not what he means. That's not. No, swing. It means something else. Like swing my arms around, scare him, like
helicopter
do something.
strategy.
Like, yeah. Like there's no way he means like, and it's like a scary hard thing to do is take the bat off the mantelpiece and beat the fuck out of this alien.
Yeah, that's a hard ask.
I'm like, he doesn't mean that. There's no way he means that.
But also, I kind of hope he means that because I love swinging that thing.
You know, you would think he would say, hey, Meryl, grab that bat that's next to you and beat that alien. The alien can't understand me. And the alien's standing there. And
the
he's
alien,
like,
it's just like a 5-minute long scene. And the alien's like, just do something.
The alien doesn't know what's happening. He's holding the sun because he's like, okay, this is my ticket out of here.
He's like, I really thought this would work.
I'm holding the wrist. They know what the wrist is because everybody has that. For sure, they know what this is. And like, he sees the guy, like the guy, Joaquin slowly takes the bat off the thing and he like kind of winds up his body with it. And the alien is like, what the fuck is he doing? Like,
he has no idea about baseball.
It's like it's my theory that these aliens have no concept of fighting outside of the wrist gas. He's like, what is he gonna do with that?
Does that extend his wrist gas?
Yeah.
Is it a hollow tube?
He's 10 feet away from me. There's no way he can gas me from there. And then even like when he gets hit with the bat,
he's like,
the alien doesn't.
The alien's kind of like, what the hell?
What the?
That's like
breathe.
Way against the rules. It's kind of like an I think you should leave skit. The alien's kind of like Tim being like,
what the heck?
You can't hit me with something.
That's not even possible, dude. Like,
there must be a rule or else other people would do it.
Like, the alien doesn't fight back at all either.
He's shook, dude.
He's like shocked that he's being beaten with a bat.
Fucking shook.
And also, it like, because it's the alien with the fingers cut off too. They explain that like they left behind their wounded, which also makes me wonder because all he had was he had 2 fingers half chopped off, where the other aliens like, no, you can't come back.
You're not on the list.
Leave this guy behind. Yeah. So I think the swing away scene was incredibly hype. I think like I was almost euphoric at this point in the movie where he gets the flashback. The wife says, "Tell Meryl to swing away." Initially, he's like, "It's her neurons firing. She's in shock. She's dying. It means nothing." He sees his wife. Oh my god!
The dopamine rush from like just cheering for these people and that's one thing I think this movie really gets from treating its characters so earnestly is like a really good payoff.
It's like one of the top payoffs I think for me in movies is Swing Away Meryl. He hits it and then the glasses of water everywhere.
Oh my god.
The kid with OCD has millions of glasses of water and it goes all over the alien. I think, oh god, it's great. It's great storytelling. Logic, who the fuck cares, is my opinion. Alien meter?
Dude, this is a 10 out of 10 on the alien meter.
Yes.
I think it's the high water mark for aliens. Like M. Night Shyamalan came out with an alien movie, and I think if you're gonna have an alien invasion movie, you have to be mindful of this.
I think in terms of aliens coming to Earth, this is 10 out of 10. I'll give it a 10 too. Like you have the movie Alien where it's like the future people going into an alien planet. I think that's a different ass thing.
Right.
All right. But aliens come into Earth, This is like, this is the gold
This
standard.
and
I
The
agree.
Thing are like up there.
Yeah, that movie also whips ass. One day, I want to do that with Jace though. We got to do that as a group, the full crew. Yeah, 10 movie meters. I'm gonna give this shit. Oh, you go ahead. You
10.
Go fucking 10. Yeah, 10. This movie kicks. You watch it twice a year, dog. If it's anything below a 10, I'm gonna be like, what are you doing? I'm gonna give it a 9. I think it has flaws. That are legitimate critiques. The M. Night Shyamalan scene as a veterinarian, I think it's well written. I do wish it was acted a little better by M. Night Shyamalan's part. There's some clunkers in this movie. I don't give a fuck, though. It's a great-ass movie, and I think it accomplishes its full scope. On a different day, I'd probably give it a 10. I see this fucking movie.
So what was
ass.
your viewing experience like? Were you guys pretty scared, or were you pretty hype, or what?
I think I was hyped the whole time because of I think the the deep psychological scars from watching the scenes. I knew they were coming, so it's like no big deal. When he's in the cornfield and the tension's building, where he's passing corn really close to the camera, and you're like, oh my god, when's the alien coming? For Amber, that was more excruciating because she was just like, what's gonna happen?
Is he?
And
she didn't know that he's eventually going to see it. Yeah.
Right. I knew when the leg was coming, so that was not a big deal for me. But I think we were both pretty hype watching this. And at the end of the movie, we were kind of talking too. We were like, "What is this? Is this a Christian movie?" Because he ends up finding his faith at the end. Personally, I don't think so.
I agree. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And
it's a relationship.
I'm a type 2 person. And I think this movie is meant for both types of people, and art is saying, hey, type 2 people, don't look so down on type 1 people. Right. Type 1 people are not illogical, crazy people. Their way of seeing things is just as valid as yours. And that's what the message is.
It's a different way of kind of coping with the world and perceiving the world.
Exactly, and both are valid.
And yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate that too. As someone who also leans kind of the type 2, who knows if anything matters or if it's all random. And I think the Christianity angle, I think, is just his manifestation of what that means to him, I think it also kind of gave me, it feels, you get a sense of hope at the end of the movie if you liked it. I think there is a little bit of an uplift. I could see why seeing this movie could make your day a little better.
We watched it this morning.
I hope so. Yeah.
It's a daytime watcher too. Go ahead.
Does more watches? Do you think you get more out of picking up on more things?
Yeah, more the dialogue, the little tiny dialogue pieces, especially Abigail Breslin's character. There's lines that you maybe don't even understand what she says, and then the second or third watches you do pick up on it. Especially at the beginning she says, "Are you in my dreams too?" And you're like, "What the fuck?" And then halfway through the movie, she's like, "I don't want you to die," to her brother, and he's like, "What? Who said I was gonna die?" And she never follows up on it. And at the end, when he's dying, she says, "I dreamed this."
Fuck.
And you're like,
that shit's so
No, child. She has the ability to help, but she just doesn't have the ability to help.
She's shining, man.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to watch the rest of the Shyamalan movies after this. Honestly,
I mean. Yeah, yes and no. There's some really great ones, like Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, but
In the Village.
I do like The Village.
The Village whips
I
ass.
Do like the
Everyone
Village,
shits
man.
on it.
I like The Village.
And I think because I haven't seen anything after Last Airbender. I have not seen besides Old.
I haven't seen Old.
Old is not good. Not good. Worth a watch? Hell yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, well, folks, that was Signs. Let us know what you think about Signs. Did you like that movie? This movie's divisive. You look up reviews and shit, it goes
a lot of
all
idiots
over the
in the
place.
world.
Yeah, and I think I agree. They're idiots. All right, this movie rules. And if you don't think so, I think you're wrong. Well, folks, there's not another movie because we're just gonna pick one.
Do you want to give some Signs advice?
Yeah, we'll get me and Ryan are just gonna popcorn back and forth some Signs of it. We're gonna end the show. Let us know what you want us to watch too. That's fine. Ryan, do you want to go first?
Corn
Never
hides
in
side
of
you
when
you
bastard are
hiding
in
corn.
Thanks for joining us. I used to swallow corn whole as a kid. And I would always wonder if a stalk would